Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. Anyone else but me. No, no, no. Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me.
Hi there. After I did the video about Samantha's seeming clapback of her new campaign to kind of reestablish her position in the Megxit narrative, I found it interesting that the very next day there was a clapback, presumably from the Meghan camp. And it's been a while since we've seen these dueling banjos of clapback articles between Samantha and Meghan. And this one in particular, I really felt it was worth looking at. Now, before we get into that article, something else happened in the midst of Samantha's birthday celebrations that I really need to comment on it. It was so extreme. I'm going to start out just by playing you a brief clip. This is a brief clip that was, I believe, mid-September on Dan Wootton's Outspoken.
Extraordinary twist in the legal case between Samantha Markle and her estranged sister, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. According to Newsweek and a reporter called Jack Royston, who, let me just be clear to you, is totally aligned to Harry and Meghan. He is in their camp. He often propagates their propaganda.
No, I would agree with that. I think that Jack Royston is firmly a mouthpiece of Harry and Meghan. But I would say that as much as he is a mouthpiece of Harry and Meghan, he doesn't go over the line of actually being their friend, actually having a personal relationship with them. He may, but he doesn't publicize it. And actually, I really don't think he does. I don't think that Meghan would let anyone that close into her inner circle anymore ever since Scooby-Doo and the disasters that came from his books and whatnot. So I don't think Jack Royston actually has a personal connection. I think it is very much so a business arrangement in which he most certainly does push the Sussex narrative. But my goodness, Dan Wootton said that about Jack Royston, and then he does this? I mean, you tell me. Look at this. This is Dan Wootton wishing a happy 60th birthday to my good friend Samantha Markle, a woman who was unfairly maligned for years, but was the first to blow the whistle on the truth of her sister Meghan. Which sounds, to me, an awful lot like that Emperor's New Clothes analogy that Samantha made in her article the other day. A woman whose loyalty to her father is admirable, even though we really have no evidence that there is any loyalty to her father. A woman who is a great American patriot, but also adores the United Kingdom. So look at that. She's trying to appeal to the Trump supporters and trying to appeal to the royalists. The only good thing to come out of this mess has been getting to have her in my life. But he has the nerve, like, I am so disturbed by this and the bias, the lack of ethics, and the hypocrisy of him saying Jack Royston is firmly in Harry and Meghan's camp. Please, Dan Wootton, show me where Jack Royston wished Harry or Meghan such a personal, heartfelt birthday wish. Because until you do, you really should not be saying anything about how Jack Royston is a mouthpiece of Harry and Meghan. Because you clearly are a mouthpiece of the Markle family. And if the people that said that I was off on the shady bench, my goodness, they have taken it to new heights at this point. The Markles, Dan Wootton, some Lady C, the tweets that have been coming from these people lately, I'm actually blown away by it, to be quite honest. But let's get into this clapback article. And honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to call it a clapback anymore. Is this Meghan clapping back, or is this just honestly more of Samantha's controlled opposition? I don't even know what to call it anymore, because I've never seen anything like this that is this extreme, where it is so well timed, so well orchestrated. This can't be random. This can't be organic. Inside the lonely life of Meghan Markle's older sister, Samantha. As she turns 60 today, she will be celebrating in isolation due to estrangement from both of her daughters, as well as a long-running feud with the Duchess, which led to defamation battle. And this was just published on Samantha's birthday by the Daily Mail, which the day before had published the glowing report about Samantha's interview, in which she was in tears and Emperor's New Clothes. When Samantha Markle heard the news in October 2016 that her half-sister Meghan was the mystery woman who had been secretly dating a British prince, she did not have a typical reaction. Instead of being happy and celebrating that her sibling had caught herself a catch and that she could soon become a wildly wealthy duchess, Samantha was sour. I mean, even the language of this is so extreme. I don't understand what I'm reading almost. And her feelings seemed to burst out when, just 2 days after the relationship news broke, she appeared on the front page of The Sun with the glaring headline, "Don't fall for my little sis, Harry. She'd be the next Princess Pushy." Well, wait a minute. This is odd, because Samantha has been telling us for years that initially they were so supportive of Meghan, and they said such nice glowing things about her. And it was only when those things were then twisted and turned and used against them that they started being more honest. Well, gee, if 2 days after the news broke, Samantha was saying that she's Princess Pushy, where was the nice stuff? Was the nice stuff that one day? Was that the nice stuff that was twisted? I don't understand it. I mean, I feel like we're in an opposite world where everything we've previously been told, just believe the opposite, because none of it is true. Not a single thing. It was just the beginning of what would be an onslaught of bad press for the future Duchess from her now estranged sister. Samantha became prolific in the news and would do interviews for programs such as Good Morning Britain to criticize her younger sister, labeling her shallow and a social climber. Did this person watch my videos? Tensions reached an all-time high after she decided to take Meghan to court after she alleged she had been defamed by her in her tell-all interview with Oprah in 2021. She challenged Meghan's claims that she grew up an only child and didn't have much of a relationship with her sibling, saying it hurt the sales of her self-published book, The Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, Part 1. 6 years later, still no Part 2. Samantha also claims she was forced to move residences, retract from public outings, and faced realistic death threats as a result of the royals' Netflix documentary, according to a court filing. And yet, we've already proven she moved residences often, and it had nothing to do with Meghan or the press. So I'm not really clear on that. She was seeking $75,000 in damages for the alleged defamation, but lost the case. However, she has refused to give up the long-running feud, and her lawyer appealed the ruling in April. But Meghan is not the only close family member Samantha has had a difficult relationship with. Both of her daughters, Ashley Hale and Noelle Rasmussen, 25, had previously spoken to the press, claiming that they have no contact with their mother. Her third child, a son called Christopher, 38, was raised alongside Ashley by their paternal grandparents, who later adopted them. Ashley featured in Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary to say she doesn't speak to Samantha after being raised by her grandparents from the age of 6. Well, where was her father? Meanwhile, Noelle spoke out against Samantha's constant sniping against Meghan in the lead up to the royal wedding in 2018. She said she was embarrassed by the way her mother and other relatives had treated Meghan since the news of the engagement broke. The fraught family relationships mean Samantha, who turned 60 today, will be spending her birthday in isolation. Samantha was 17 when her father and her new stepmother, Doria Ragland, brought another member of the Markle clan into the world, Meghan. Now, this is so sickly sweet about Meghan that, again, I don't believe any of this either. That's the thing. It's not that I suddenly am believing anything that Meghan says. This is so ridiculously over the top. I don't believe it either. None of it's believable. None of it's reasonable. None of it's logical. All of it is propaganda. Both sides. Now, it's interesting. Meghan is estranged from the majority of her father Thomas's side of the family, including her dad in blue and her other uncle Fred in the checked shirt. Now, what's odd to me about this is, why are they showing this photo when she's estranged from all of them when the article is about Samantha? Why are they showing this photo of Meghan? Are they trying to say, look, she was never with her family, but she's with her family? I mean, I get that Samantha's not there, but it's still her father, and that doesn't mean that Samantha's not a part of whatever celebration this was, whoever's birthday or holiday or whatever. I mean, again, nothing about it seems real. And this picture, if you look at Meghan in that photo, she's not the same proportion as the other people in the photo. Look, if she were to stand up, she'd be bigger than her male cousin. And her photo is clearer. It's more distinct, as opposed to a little bit of fuzziness that makes me think that the other photo is a real photo of those other people, but that Meghan was photoshopped into it. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I see from here. It's almost as though their propaganda is so extreme, it has such an opposite effect, that it's almost like Samantha is writing this article, even though it's totally against Samantha, because the propaganda for Meghan is so extreme that it makes you feel sorry for Samantha. Just like the other article that was so pro Samantha, I wouldn't be surprised if Meghan wrote that, because it made you feel better for Meghan than for Samantha, because the propaganda is so extreme. I mean, you can't tell me there are people out there that believe this. It was 1981, and although Samantha and her brother Thomas Jr. came from their father's previous marriage, which ended in divorce in the early 1970s, the blended family were all now living under the same roof in Santa Monica. Wasn't someone just recently in Santa Monica? But what followed was not domestic bliss. It has been claimed that Thomas Markle was so besotted with gorgeous Meghan that his other daughter quickly became an afterthought. Like, did Doria write this? No, Doria wouldn't. Honestly, it's like it came straight from Meghan's mouth. The arrival of Meghan caused the awkward teenager to feel even more displaced and unattractive, describing her own appearance as like a pear on stilts, according to royal expert Tina Brown. And despite Meghan's parents breaking up when she was 2, Samantha continued to see her half-sister over the years. So she continued to see her. So they had a relationship. The resentment only grew when Thomas sent Meghan to a series of elite private schools, allowing her to be the first Markle to get into college. Well, gee. It's my understanding that Samantha got her master's in 2006. Meghan supposedly graduated from college around 2003, I believe. So in order for Samantha to have gotten her master's by 2006, she would have had to have been in college before Meghan. Right? I mean, am I wrong about this? To make matters worse, after the failure of her own attempt at acting, Samantha was then forced to watch as Meghan's career took off, while she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2008 and ended up in a wheelchair. And yet she was already in a wheelchair when she got her degree in 2006. Brown, author of the best-selling royal book The Palace Papers, who had lunch with Princess Diana 2 months before her death in 1997. What does that have to do with any... Wrote that the jealousy inside Samantha had curdled. I cannot believe for a second it waited that long to curdle, and it seems time has not healed the wound, as despite Samantha saying she last saw Meghan in 2008, or 2006, which is it? When the now Duchess of Sussex flew to see her graduate at the age of 44, Samantha remains bitter. Screenshot, or this shot of the first page of Samantha's lawsuit is in the article, and I'm presenting it because I thought it was very interesting. Do you remember how Samantha went on and on saying no way are her court papers going to discuss Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex? Well, this was filed, I believe, in April. Yes, 8th day of April 2024. Before all of that interview where she said, no way are we going to refer to her as Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Well, notice of appeal. Notice is hereby given that the plaintiff, Samantha Markle, by and through her undersigned counsel, appeals to the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit from the order granting defendants, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, motion to dismiss entered by the Honorable Charlene Edwards Honeywell on March 12th, 2024. So she said all that after she had already included Meghan's title in her court documents 5 months earlier. There was no truth whatsoever in that entire fiasco with the titles, because Samantha was already referring to her as Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, in her court papers. When it comes to Meghan's side of the story, she has stayed fairly quiet about Samantha, despite the constant barrage of insults from her sister. I mean, the tone of this is so sickly sweet. A rare insight was gleaned when an email sent in 2018 to her then communications secretary was made public as part of a privacy and copyright lawsuit the Duchess filed against the publishers of the Mail on Sunday, which revealed she accused Samantha of having begun a career creating stories to sell to the press. Well, I would have to say I agree. But Samantha and Meghan's relationship was not always so fraught. Samantha, who is also known by the name Samantha Grant, which I don't know why, she married someone named Hale and Rasmussen. Where did the Grant come from? Whose name is Grant? Was born in Chicago on November 24th, 1964. Along with her brother, Thomas Jr., they were children from Thomas Markle's first marriage to Rosalind Markle. Their mother, who now lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico, was married to Thomas between 1964 and 1975. His second wife was Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, and they welcomed their only child, Meghan, on August 4th, 1981. Much of what has been said about Samantha and Meghan's childhood comes from Samantha's aforementioned memoir, released in January 2021. The shocking book's blurb stated that its aim was to share the truth about her life and family against all odds and ultimatums. I think that's when the idea came up that it was actually an ultimatum of Meghan's that Thomas, disown Thomas Jr. and Samantha. In it, she pulls no punches and lays into her half-sister, describing her as a monster, cold-hearted and controlling. But there are also interesting anecdotes about her experience growing up around the future Duchess of Sussex. The book details the Markle siblings' upbringing, including the rivalry between Meghan and Samantha, which began when their father was still married to Doria. One story details that just before her first birthday, Meghan threw blueberries around the kitchen as her father laughed in delight. We didn't laugh about cleaning up the mess, though, Samantha adds. Samantha shared how she even invested in hair extensions and tanning beds due to inspiration from her sister, but lamented how the extensions started to fall out and she was left with several thinning areas. But she also wrote of her adoration for her half-sister as a baby and described the infant as biracial, beautiful, the color of a peach and a rose. I don't have words for this. And another photo. This is the photo actually in the article, which I thought was worth pointing out. I mean, it's quite an unattractive photo. I mean, honestly, anyone who doubts that there is propaganda and some sort of psyops going on here, I really think that you need to have a bit of a reality check. Look at this. 2 days after an article that was completely pro Samantha, now we get this. Everything is this complete opposition and out of whack, yin and yang. However, it wasn't until the Sussexes' 2021 interview with Oprah that Meghan began to make her only claims about their childhood, which contrasted with her sisters. The Duchess claimed to only have seen her half-sister a handful of times growing up. I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows, and I wished I had siblings. I would have loved to have had siblings, she said. And in the 2022 Netflix docuseries, Meghan said she knew little about her half-sister. She said, the UK media wanted my mom's side of my family to be the ones that all this drama could be stirred up with. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. And they just had my mom, who was classy and quiet. And then you have the other side of the family, which is just acting differently. My half-sister, Samantha, who I hadn't seen for over a decade, and that was only for a day and a half, suddenly it felt like she was everywhere. Keep that name in mind. Remember, I had said that there was a Twitter account that was chasing me down and stalking me and harassing me. Well, the name of the account was Suddenly I Am Everywhere, and the handle was Buttercup. That was Samantha. I don't know your middle name. I don't know your birthday. And you're telling people that you raised me and you've coined me Princess Pushy. Meghan added, I don't remember seeing her, Samantha, when I was a kid. The last time that I saw her, I remember, was when I was in my early 20s. I hadn't had a fallout with her. We didn't have a closeness to be able to have that. And I wanted a sister. Samantha previously told the Daily Mail she last saw her sister in 2008 when Samantha graduated from university and Meghan flew in for her big day. Well, why would you fly in if you didn't have any sort of a relationship with her? I mean, again, it's still a contradiction, and I don't believe any of it, and I don't believe the graduation, and I don't believe Meghan attended. After graduating, Samantha followed in her father's footsteps and worked in the entertainment industry for several years as a writer and an actress. But she struggled with her finances and filed for personal bankruptcy in 2003. Her brother, Thomas Jr., also filed for bankruptcy in 2012. Both her marriages to Earl Hale and Scott Rasmussen ended in divorce. So where did the grant come from? What am I missing here? Samantha lost touch with Meghan after she made it big and landed a role on the legal drama Suits. In an interview in 2018, Samantha told ITV's Loose Women that the pair last spoke in 2015. During their last conversation, Samantha said, I was concerned about my father, so I called her in Canada. Samantha's estranged daughter, Ashley, featured in Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary because she is one of the Duchess's best friends. Haven't heard about her since, but she's one of Meghan's best friends. When was the last time they saw each other? The Sussex Netflix documentary shed light on the complicated relationship between Meghan, her half-sister, and her niece, Ashley. I don't think it really was very complicated. Meghan and Samantha had been estranged for years, and likewise, Ashley told the program that she doesn't speak to her mother. having been brought up by her paternal grandparents. Are they Grants? I'm kidding. I know they aren't. They're Hales. But I was just making the point that where is this name Grant coming from? But thanks to her father, Thomas Markle, Meghan was able to reconnect with her niece in around 2007. Oh, good. They needed to explain that, right? They needed to find a way that happened. Because otherwise it made no sense that they had been friends for, quote unquote, years. So they were friends for 10 years, and Meghan still couldn't figure out a way to, get over the whole palace telling her she can't invite her niece thing. And that seems pretty extreme, don't you think? Meghan said, my dad said that Samantha had found her daughter, and I remember saying, oh, if you have her email address, I want to email her. And I think we both craved the same thing. I wanted a sister, and she was like a little sister. But when it came to drawing up the guest list for her nuptials to Prince Harry, Ashley was not invited. Apparently because of the frosty relations between Meghan and Samantha. Well, says who? Says Meghan. So it means nothing. Samantha previously took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to express her distaste that neither she nor Meghan's half-brother were invited to the Sussexes' 2018 wedding at St. George's Chapel in Windsor. And please, tell me one person who blames her for that. At this point, I don't blame her for wanting none of these people anywhere near her. But then again, I also don't understand why they would want her anywhere near them. Meghan's father, Thomas, also did not attend after he was found to be arranging with paparazzi to stage photos for cash during the build-up to the wedding. Samantha wrote at the time, out of respect and humanitarianism, the Markles should be invited if 2,000 complete strangers are. Our uncle, brother, me, best friend of 30 years, nephews. At issue is not a matter of closeness. Family is family. And yet, I'm sorry, Samantha, you don't get to make the guest list of your sister's wedding. See, that's the problem there. Do I think she should have invited you? Well, theoretically, yes. Honestly, I don't know that I blame her, but should she have invited her family? Yeah, she should have, probably. Maybe. But either way, it's not your place to say whether or not she did. In her memoir, Samantha claims that Meghan ordered their father to disown his children from his first marriage if he wanted an invitation to her wedding. And yet, Samantha, you were also on Good Morning Britain 2 days before her wedding saying, your father is just dying to go. He's got his speech all ready to go. So which is it? According to the book, Meghan told Thomas Markle to divorce himself from Samantha and her brother Thomas by saying, you don't need them. Her father refused and supposedly said, I love you all equally, to which Meghan replied, why can't you just comply? I don't believe any of that happened. I'm sorry, I don't. Meanwhile, Samantha's other estranged daughter, Noelle Rasmussen, spoke to the press in the lead-up to the royal wedding in 2018 to slam her behavior. She said sniping at the bride-to-be was ripping the family apart and called for the Markles to have a truce and support the Suits actress on her big day. At the time, she was studying anthropology and lived with her grandmother, Rosalind Markle, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Noelle has previously said her mother's vendetta against Meghan is fueled by hate. Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. She told the Mail in 2018 when Meghan started dating Prince Harry, Samantha got an interest in Meghan, which she had never had before. I'm sure not. Noelle had previously said her mother's vendetta against Meghan is fueled by hate. She told the Mail in 2018, when Meghan started dating Prince Harry, Samantha got an interest in Meghan, which she had never had before. She wanted to be nice, to be friends, to say how much she loves her sister. But after years of telling me and the rest of the family how much she hates Meghan, how much of a narcissist Meghan apparently is, and what a horrible woman Meghan is, which isn't true at all. I'm not shocked to hear that. Here, this is going to be totally positive for Meghan, and I don't believe this either. Of course my mother doesn't like Meghan. this, she's told me, starting from a very early age. I do not believe that Samantha has been telling her daughter from a very early age that she dislikes her sister. Why? Her daughter hasn't been anywhere around her. She hasn't liked Meghan since, essentially, she was born. She's told me stories about how she didn't want her around and how she never asked for Meghan. She's just been overall jealous of Meghan. As soon as she got famous and began taking jobs like, for example, 90210. Really? Really? That was a big job? And of course, when she got Suits, that set her off. After however many years, she just completely bashed Meghan, said the most horrible things about her to the entire family, and just been completely jealous of her. She hasn't shown her any type of love or appreciation unless she wants money. That's it. Now, I don't believe that either, because as long as Meghan was Thomas Markle's favorite, Samantha was gaining nothing by bad talking her to Thomas Markle. Thomas Markle would have just gotten angry at it, and he wouldn't have allowed it. So I don't believe this either. That part is only included to push Meghan's narrative that Samantha's doing all this for money. And the sad thing is, you don't even need to do that. You don't even need to say that part to already make it clear, to already have that suspicion. So much of her other behavior makes it clear that money is all she's interested in, that you don't even need to make things up. But that's what they do. They make things up, which makes them even less believable in the first place. Samantha decides to sue Meghan. Nevertheless, following the wedding, Samantha remained furious about the snub and continued her frequent media appearances to criticize her half-sister, and has still gone on to do them regularly even today. Then in 2022, she decided to take the unprecedented step of suing Meghan. The case was originally filed in March of that year, and in legal filings, Samantha detailed at length how she was very close to Meghan when they grew up in Los Angeles. Samantha helped Meghan with her homework, took her shopping, had a wonderful relationship with her, it was claimed. Do you believe any of this? I don't believe any of it, either side. But once Meghan became famous, thanks to the TV series Suits, she no longer had time for Samantha, and by 2016, they had stopped visiting each other, it was claimed. Well, didn't they stop visiting each other by 2008? The lawsuit said that once Meghan met Harry, she became hostile to Samantha, as well as the rest of her family. I bet she did. I have no doubt that she did. And I bet they became hostile to her as well. These people, there's no good side to this. It's like the caricature that they're creating is so extreme that I don't believe either of them. The defining moment of, and I believe that's supposed to say Samantha's, unwarranted hostility towards Meghan happened in 2017 when the Duchess allegedly hung up the phone immediately upon hearing Samantha's voice. Samantha called back, but to this day, Meghan has never returned Samantha's phone call, she claimed. And by the way, based on my experience interacting with Samantha, I have no doubt that she didn't just call back once. She probably called back about 20 times. She'd probably just kept calling and calling and calling and calling until Meghan eventually blocked the call. Since then, Meghan has belligerently attempted to malign Samantha and other family members, the lawsuit stated. Meghan's method is to terminate friendships rather than save them, and for her to become hostile, it claimed. Now, that may be the case, and that may be something that you or I or Samantha or anybody might find objectionable, but I hate to break it to Samantha, it's not something you're allowed to sue over. You're not allowed to sue because your sister's a bitch. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. After that, it was alleged that Meghan started her smear campaign, an ongoing deluge of distorted facts and stories, complete with fake quotes about and by Samantha. Well, it must still be going on, huh? Because Samantha is apparently not responsible for any of the things she has said, whether it's quoted in a newspaper or it's her on video doing an interview, whether it's in her voice or whatever. But the suit was eventually dismissed with prejudice in March 2024, meaning that it simply cannot be refiled. Judge Charlene Edwards Honeywell said that the case should be dismissed because Samantha failed to identify any statements that could support a claim for defamation. Again, you cannot sue your sister just because she's a bitch. The decision spared Meghan from a trial which was set to take place at the court in Tampa. In her 58-page ruling, Judge Honeywell said that Meghan's statements could not be defamatory because they are substantially true based on judicially noticed evidence, or not capable of being considered defamatory. Samantha had failed to plausibly allege that they are defamatory in the first place, the judge said. But Samantha has vowed to continue her legal campaign against her estranged sister, and in April, her lawyer filed an appeal. The case is currently at the Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit after Samantha lost at federal court in the Middle District of Florida. Now, I have no idea if this part is true, but if it is, this is absolutely crazy. In the documents which have been seen by the U.S. outlet Newsweek, Prince Harry is wrongly referred to by his brother William's title, Prince of Wales, a total of 9 times. Meanwhile, Meghan, who has moved to California with Harry, continues her long-running policy of ignoring Samantha. Despite apparently spending a lot of time together growing up, Samantha has never been further apart from her sister. So this video kind of goes in tandem with the video that gave, supposedly, I guess, Samantha's side of the story, however you want to say it. But what I'm really curious about is what you think. What do you think is going on here? Do you think Dan is a little too far along the path of bias in his journalism to actually be considered a legitimate journalist at this point? What are they doing having so many allies that are pushing their narratives? What is starting to frighten the Markle clan? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great dancing day.
Dancing in the rain.